Hello ladies, gentlemen, and others. My name is Dan, the voice behind that Kaito Dan, and welcome to my reaction to RWBY Fairy Tales, Episode 5, The Girl in the Tower. I'm reaching now, please tell me what to do. But before we get started, as always, please make sure you're watching this episode first through roosterteeth.com to support the show and the fantastic people behind it. If that little wink and nod song moment didn't give it away, we are now here for The Girl in the Tower as the penultimate episode of this short little series, and it's a very interesting tale, of course, for many reasons. Obviously, this is probably, I think, the fairy tale that we know the most about, or at least has been present the most, next to maybe the Maidens and the story of the season stuff. Because of course this was first mentioned by Pyrrha as one of her favourite fairy tales, and more importantly, it is the, I guess, origin story of Salem, our resident Rapunzel turned Wicked Witch remnant. So it's obviously a fairy tale that's got a lot of importance in terms of the major story, but thankfully, this isn't just going to be a one-to-one retelling of the same story that we've heard in the past through Jin's, I guess, flashback. It's actually going to be more of the full story, if you will. Of course, we'll dive into it in a bit later on, as well as little tidbits about this and how it is in the book. But yeah, obviously we got this, and then the next episode will be the last one, The Warrior in the Woods, which I'm very looking forward to seeing as well. But yeah, we're going off from one big main series relevant story with the Indecisive King to learning a bit more about our big bad. So without any further ado, let's get into it, shall we? Count it down with me. 3, 2, 1.
A long time ago, a beautiful girl was locked in a tower.
It's oh God, I can't think of if there's an actual term for it. But I like this mechanical, I guess, almost like silhouette storytelling. This I've seen old-fashioned mechanical toys like this, where you spin it around, you get a story told to you. And of course, we're actually learning about the reason why Salem was in the tower. The king basically being overprotective.
Father, why won't you let me leave this tower?
Is that Jen actually as young Salem here? After seeing the credits, it'll be interesting. Hopefully, they brought it back in, even for just this short series, short episode, I should say. I love seeing Salem in this flat 2D style, because of course we're so used to in the 3D models.
This was your mother's favorite tower.
And of course, I'll talk about the emblem. Don't worry. There's the Salem that we were familiar with. Yeah, there's a force field, so that's why she couldn't just leave by herself. And she had a nanny as well.
Since you cannot go out into the world,
We'll bring the world to you.
we'll bring the world to you.
She was fascinated by the world outside thanks to this, and this really spurred why she desperately wanted to leave not just the tower, but the castle.
Books.
Yeah, I think that definitely is Jen. But I have to see about the young one.
Tomorrow I'll be 16, and I have never even stepped outside.
And we'll start to see some of that little dark edges to Salem was still present even during this time. It wasn't just a thing that was created by the Grimm.
Thank you.
So that's a very old King Cole design to the king. I like that.
On her 16th birthday.
There is one thing.
She was 16 during this.
That, my darling.
Pen and paper. That is all. I have read every book in this castle, and now there are none left.
And the first deceitful
I want
act.
to write my own stories.
Keep in mind on that, that's very important. The fact that
You will read these stories.
Salem is writing a story.
Of course, Father.
The music is very enchanting, but there's a dark edge to it as well. Love it.
In a high tower by her cruel lord father.
She actually writes it out like she needs to be saved, and her father is cruel for doing it. To an extent, yes, but
If only some
Yep, physical items can go through, but not people like Salem.
and free her.
And yeah, we're starting to see that again, more of that dark edge, and she's willing to villainize her father if it means that she can get saved.
Just as she planned, the story of the girl's tragic circumstances spread far and wide.
And remember seeing all those like weapons outside the castle and like all the like fallen heroes? This is why. Oh, he's almost got like Rhodes's mace staff there. Jesus. Had a bit of a lag there, sorry. It's not going according to plan.
Powerful evil magic. Until one day, a brave new challenger came.
Ozma! Wow, it's been a while since we last saw you.
This hero, armed with his own
Emerald Castle there.
defeated the cruel lord.
He actually had to kill the king to get to Salem. That's rather dark. And of course, they fought their way out as well, so she was fighting her own family, her own kingdom, to get out.
So now it is yours. I only came to right a terrible wrong, the hero said. You rescued yourself.
She did, but
Where should we go now?
there's a lot more to this story than just the heroic side.
Wherever you like. You are the one who has yet to see the world.
And we all know what happens next.
And
Quite the
here
dark
is
side.
the
Ooh!
end. This fairy tale
I remember seeing this in the trailer.
in that the
We see
protagonist
switching
writes
over to actually how Salem is.
her own ending.
Oh!
Storytellers hold great power over
Oh!
audiences
We saw this is in the trailer as well.
who used her
Actually,
powers
Ozpin!
led many warriors to their deaths.
Wow!
Must read with some skepticism
Seeing Ozpin again, like in his body.
for ourselves. Because in real life, there is no happily ever after.
Oh, oh, that was a good shot. Oh my god. Okay, I gotta see on the voice talent. Okay, that was Jen as all versions of Salem. Wow, that's the first time we've heard her do a young voice like that. Bravo, Jen. Oh, and Nanny, the Nanny was done by Rachel, and I'm not familiar with the King, admittedly, but wow, that might be one of my favorite episodes in the series, just in terms of like the visual presentation. That was really good. I mean, again, I love the start of it and like the bulk of the presentation with again, I can't think if there's like an actual term for it, but it's like the mechanical silhouettes where you turn the crank, different pieces tell a story and like that. Very, very like fancy and very artistic. Like it's a unique style that we've not seen in any of the shorts before, and not even like any other RWBY stuff, which makes it feel more unique and special. I love that. And of course, this is, as Ozpin was discussing there as well, this is a very interesting story because it's not an actual fictional fairy tale. Of course, we know that it is a lot of truth to it, but it's also the fact that it's written by the protagonist. Salem herself wrote her own story as a fictional story that would be adopted later on, but at first and foremost, it was a fictional story to help her get out of the tower, to get herself free from the villainous king. And that, again, I was mentioning it before, we saw that there were some darker sides to Salem even back then, where she was villainizing her father. She was growing more and more frustrated with being locked away, and that anger spurned her into making these very, I guess in some way, well-meaning. She obviously didn't deserve to be locked away because of the king's fear of losing her. But at the same time, it's like she ended up resulting in her father and her kingdom being destroyed, killed by Ozma, and like how many other people died trying to save her? There's a lot of blood on Salem's hands well before she even comes across the gods. So that thankfully does explain that there was some darker elements to Salem before she became the Grim version. So the Grim didn't really create the darkness, it really just like amplified it. And obviously everything that happened with the brothers as well. And that last bit as well with Ozpin, we saw that there was like a clue that we were going to see Ozpin in the trailer. I remember because his cuff was in there, and like the very familiar shot of like what feels like his hands opening a book telling a story. And I love the fact that the first time we're seeing this, and maybe the only time I think as well, of Ozpin actually reading this story is with the most personal tale to him. Of course, this is a tale that sparked up his meeting with Salem. It's how they came together, and of course it unfortunately led to, I guess in a way, his own downfall, leading to the current conflict that we have now. Which makes it interesting then that he includes it in the in-universe collection of fairy tales. He knows that this is a story made by his current enemy, and it's a story that explains much of his tragic past, but in a way that is not actually revealing the darker sides. Like, we don't see past happily ever after, and I think that's kind of why he includes it in the story. He discusses in his notes, and like even in the ending bit here, like you don't always get a happily ever after. You don't know all the truths behind the story. Like, if you read the story, you will probably never figure out, or probably never like analyze critically, the dark edges to Salem. You are only told that there's an evil king locking away an innocent princess in his tower, and she needs to be rescued by a brave, noble hero. But in the end, this is also a story that leads to tragedy upon tragedy upon tragedy. There is no happily ever after in this story, and I think that's why Ozpin does include it in the collection, because he wants to plant a little seed in people's heads that there needs to be more focus on, maybe there's some truth behind some lies behind truths. Some villains are actually heroes who have fallen into darkness, and some villains could possibly become heroes if there is this like two sides to every story. And I've got to bring this up as well, because I'm sure lots of people are talking about it. We do see in the background a fair few shots of an emblem that is very similar to Jean's, the two crescents, which I actually use for my emblem on my art, so to speak. But yeah, we see that a lot in this. We saw it a lot in The Lost Fable as well, with the actual first sighting of the story. And back then, a lot of people were making the connection. I know Arnold did as well. He made like a whole video on it, suggesting that there could be a possibility that Salem and Jean are related because of these two emblems. Very much the same, just like with one addition on Salem. I've not been like dead set on it myself, because I think that is like a very light connection to make. It's just an emblem, and the fact that both of them are blonde. If anything, the most connection I have between Jean and any of these characters involved in the story is Ozpin, because of Ozma's apparent former reincarnation as the Warrior King of Vale, and there's a lot of connections tying him, the Sword of Destruction, Crochet Moors, and Jean. So I think that's the side I lean on more, but I know a lot of people have been kind of eating away at this theory that Salem and Jean could have some connection, and maybe there is. Maybe it's not like in the sense of like they are ancestors, but maybe the Jean, the Ark family, I should say, was built upon the, I guess, remnants of Salem's old family, because again, she did kind of lead to her kingdom falling, so maybe that kingdom's ashes ended up being reborn, if you will, into the Ark family. We'll have to wait and see if that rings any true. I always recall that one line from Tyrion, "You do interest me," when talking to Jean. Like, maybe he knows there is some connection between Salem and Jean, but I think that also could just be he was interested in Jean's semblance or high aura. But yeah, there's just a lot to talk about with this one. I loved it from the visual sense. This is probably, again, one of the best visually presented stories in the short series. It's probably going to be one of my favorites because of that alone. But it's great that we got this, like, new perspective on this classic story and given more insight to what is the actual in-universe story that brought Ozma and Salem together, and like all the other added elements to it. It's like very dark and tragic for a tale that feels very light and hopeful and inspiring. A story of a young maiden saved by a brave hero from a dark and villainous king ends up having a lot of the darkness on that same maiden. So yeah, fantastic stuff. I loved how this was presented. It was great to hear more of Jen. It was great to see Ozpin. I think that actually was the first time, if I'm thinking about it, we've seen Shannon's voice coming out of Ozpin since not even the Volume 3 finale, because he didn't speak in that. So the last time would have been Heroes and Monsters. We haven't seen Ozpin himself speaking since the penultimate episode of Volume 3. And we're coming up to Volume 9 now. That is insane. Wow. How time flies, I guess. But yeah, fascinating story. I loved how this was translated into this short. Fantastic job on the art and the voice acting, the music as well. Always a fantastic treat there. Yeah, I really love this. And of course, next time out is the last episode of this short series, and we're ending with The Warrior in the Woods. But until then, make sure you leave your thoughts about this episode in the comments down below, and while you're at it, hit the subscribe and bell buttons and tick the notification box to make sure you get every new video from me as they drop. And follow me on Twitter at ThatKaitoDan for more on anything to do with future RWBY stuff, updates on the channel, and more. But until next time, have a good day or good night, and peace out.